Today on Locked On Rockies. Well, they still haven't put together back-to-back wins since September. I was wrong. I've been saying since August, so a little more credit, I guess. But one thing I really noticed in the third game against the Padres, this offense is pressing too much, and we'll dive into some numbers to explain why.
You are Locked On Rockies, your daily Colorado Rockies podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Rock on Rockies fans, welcome into the Locked On Rockies podcast for today, the 25th day of April in the year 2024. I'm your host of the Locked On Rockies podcast, Paul Holden, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day, especially as I fight through random throat monsters that try to ruin my intro here. You can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. You can find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel, where you can be part of the show. You can fire off your Rockies hot takes. You can let me know what's on your mind when it comes to Colorado Rockies baseball. We are also available, like I said, on your favorite streaming services. Just search Locked On Rockies. You'll be taken to where you need to go Monday through Friday. Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. So join us. Hang out with us. I'm Paul Holden, your Rockies fan extraordinaire. Been following this team my entire life and bringing you your daily Rockies talk here for 4 seasons now. Today, we're going to talk about the Rockies offense a little bit more and focus on one of the big issues with this team and something that I feel like we can relate to here. Watching this team yesterday highlights how much I think this offense is pressing, how much this offense is trying to do too much. And there was a drastic difference in the approach in one inning that I saw versus the rest of the game in certain instances where we'll look at some of the numbers that can further explain this. But the Rockies, when they take patient at bats, when they are able to work through counts, they're going to be successful, and it's going to be the thing that helps them. There was an inning that set up in this game yesterday where they had 2 perfect at bats, basically, in the fact of getting 2 walks after you were getting kind of confused by this knuckleball there, which, man, I didn't even know was still a thing. So I want to dive into those numbers, dive into what I saw, and we'll take a look at some other news and notes for the Rockies, including a transaction and someone staying on the IL longer than we thought, even though I think for some Rockies fans, not too surprising to hear that. Before we go any further, today's episode is brought to you by Monopoly Go. You can check out this classic twist on the classic Monopoly game with Monopoly Go. Join your friends and download Monopoly Go free on the App Store or Google Play. So the Rockies lose to the Padres yesterday, fall behind, don't come back, classic thing, yada, yada. 2 great home runs there from Rymack and Elias Diaz. And it's a good swings by those 2 there. I mean, Rymack really lacing that ball. An opportunity for the Rockies to split the series is still intact. The opportunity to win the series, the first series of the year, not looking good. The Rockies are now facing basically one more series in the month of April, and it's only the 2-gamer to win a series in April. The Rockies will technically be playing the Marlins as it goes into May. So if you're looking at it that way, it's not going to work. But here's the deal. This offense is trying too much. This offense is overly aggressive. And if you were listening on the broadcast yesterday, I thought there was a really good conversation going on from Spilly there about just don't swing at the knuckleball. Like, and I thought that, I mean, it's really hard to probably do that and factor that, especially with how weird of a pitch a knuckleball is. I mean, I did not know that there was still people throwing the knuckleball in Major League Baseball. But one, super cool for that Matt Waldron. Not only has a knuckleball, but a knuckleball that he throws consistently, and a knuckleball that can be, well, at least against the Rockies, can be effective. That's really cool. I'm not going to lie. I got to give props there. I thought the knuckleball was a dead art. I thought the knuckleball was something that, you'd only hear in folklore for going forward in baseball. For there to be a major league pitcher that's going out there and successfully throwing a knuckleball again, I think is really, really cool. That's just me liking cool things in baseball. I like it less when he's dicing up the Rockies, but here's the deal. Here's the difference, and something when you're looking, even though the Rockies lost, and even though I'm highlighting that this offense is pressing too much, I think there's an important thing to take away from the stat line yesterday from Matt Waldron's start. 5 strikeouts to 3 walks. Critical there. Critical right there. Because usually it's a 10 strikeout to 1, 10 to 2, 10. I mean, to cut that number in half while almost matching his total in walks means the Rockies were taking better at bats at a certain point. And that's why I wanted to focus on this one inning. The best inning for the Rockies potentially was going to be the one where it starts with 2 back-to-back walks from Tovar and McMahon. I think there was an out in that inning as well. So I think someone got out along those lines. But both Ryan McMahon and Ezekiel Tovar get full, I believe both go through full count walks and get on. And then first pitch, Montero hacks underneath it. And then I think it's Brenton Doyle hit something weakly in the infield. I mean, I know Monty's up there hungry, ready to go. I mean, I know he wants to be power, but that's a prime example. You have back-to-back walks, a pitcher that's been going, and then I know you want a first pitch fire. I know that's what this Rockies team likes to be aggressive. But at that moment, and so far this season, I think Montero should have been looking more to build the count, to go through this, to go through an at-bat like the other. If you see your pitch and it's in the zone and you can hack it and go for it, great. Because, I mean, if he timed that pitch up and barrels it, different story. That ball probably has scoring potential on it. But just in that situation, and as you've seen 2 batters before you get on via walk, be a little bit more disciplined. Let take that first pitch. See where the at-bat goes a little bit more, because the Rockies just continue to put themselves in hole after hole after hole after hole, not only just on the scoreboard, but in the batter's box as well. You've heard them talk about it, especially before Chris Bryant was injured, but how often does it feel like the Rockies are in 0-1, 0-2 counts on offense? And it's a problem. It's a massive problem, because not only are they constantly playing from behind, literally every single game this season having to play from behind, now they're behind in the count as well. So it's a double dip of just that constant dread, that constant feeling of, we got to press, we got to get things going, we got to stop falling behind, that this offense faces, and it causes them to try to do too much. And I think that inning is a prime example. I can't remember which inning it was off the top of my head. I believe it was around like the 3rd or the 4th. It was early in the ball game where the Rockies had a chance to make it, because they put up the 4 spot. Classic start to this game, 4 runs in the first inning. But Ty Block settles down for the rest of his appearance, and the Padres only get 1 more run throughout the rest of the game. The Rockies had opportunities there early in that game to get back into this one. But when you're pressing too hard, when you're not able to convert on offense, it just is going to go from bad to worse. And I wanted to look at some of the numbers here, the Rockies as a team compared to baseball, when you're looking at things like plate discipline, for example. And this is on the wonderful Baseball Savant page. If you want to dive into the nitty-gritty of baseball, this is it. But start on off at the top. The Rockies' run differential is -57. -57. It's horrendous to be in that situation. But then here's some percentages when it comes to plate discipline. The Rockies are above average as a team when it comes to chase percentage, 32.6% compared to 27.7%. That's nearly a 5% increase. The Rockies are chasing 5% more pitches than Major League Baseball, while making contact on those chases less than Major League average. The Rockies' chase contact percentage is 52.2%, whereas Major League Baseball's average is 56%. The Rockies are swinging at the first pitch 36% of the time. And if you're Brendan Rodgers, you're swinging at the first pitch 64 times. If you're Alan Trejo, you're swinging at the first pitch 66 times. I mean, in only the pitches he saw, Hunter Goodman swinging at that first one. Ezekiel Tovar's almost swinging at a 50% rate on first pitches there. The lowest is, surprisingly enough, I mean, Nolan Jones is down at 15.6% there on first pitch swings. So the Rockies, when it comes to swinging at the first pitch, 36%, nearly 6% higher, a little bit closer to 5, but because the MLB average is 30.7 on first pitch swing percentage. Swing percent in general, 50.5%, higher than the league average of 46.9%. And then whiff percentage, 28.3% as a team compared to the major league average of 25.4%. And when you're looking in the whiff percentage category here, I mean, it's a little tough. I mean, I know he's not up anymore, but Michael Toglia, whiff percentage of 30.5, Chris Bryant 42.2%, Ryan McMahon 31.2%, Ezekiel Tovar 36.7%. I mean, these are all guys, if you're going on whiff percentage, I mean, the Rockies have multiple players that are above league average when it comes to swinging and missing. Players that are above league average when it comes to whiff percentage include Elias Diaz, Ezekiel Tovar, Brenton Doyle. Again, I know taking some of these guys with a grain of salt because I feel bad putting them on there with their lack of production, but they're on the list here. Sean Bouchard, and Michael Toglia and Chris Bryant, as well as Nolan Jones. So the Rockies are swinging and missing. They're not making good contact when it comes to hitting the ball. They're a team that has a hard hit velocity percentage, a hard hit percentage that's slightly above league average. They're just on the league nose when it comes to exit velocity. So when they hit the ball, their league average on those numbers, but they have to actually hit the ball first. And with these numbers, with the Rockies being above average, and then in all of these categories that show that this team is pressing, it's going to get harder. And when teams have someone with a unique pitch like a knuckleball, they're going to be able to exploit it. I mean, even with it not being a great game, the Rockies still struck out 5 times against Waldron in crucial situations as well. They had trouble adjusting to the knuckleball, which is the point. But I think that highlights and headlines a lot more of why this team is being unsuccessful. Want to point out here too, as we're looking at the Rockies compared to the rest of the league here, some of the advanced metrics like expected batting average and the expected slugging and the expected weighted on base average. I know that those are some stuff, but as you're looking into the deep numbers of expectations for this Rockies team, Nolan Jones is in the bottom 5% or 3% in all of those categories, and the Rockies as a team are in the bottom 7% of teams when it comes to those. So I mean, this team is expected to struggle, and the numbers are showing that, which is something that the Rockies need to work on. And boy, Nolan Jones on this Baseball Savant page does not look good right now. But so take some pitches, build some good at bats, do what Tovar and McMahon did in that inning, and then capitalize on that. But there you go. Just some more some data that highlights how tough of an approach this Rockies team has had on offense this year. The Rockies continue to be spoiled by what really seems to be the one bad inning, and I kind of want to give some props to the rotation. And I also got to give some props there to my report cards from yesterday, where it was not all that kind, but we ran out of time, so I didn't really get to dive into everything. Let's revisit that and the idea of one bad inning while I continue to fight the hiccups here on today's episode of Locked on Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes Policygenius. Policygenius is the country's leading online insurance marketplace. It saves you time and money so you can provide your family with a financially safety net starting today. With Policygenius, you can find life insurance policies that just start at $292 per year for $1 million of coverage. Some options offer same-day approval and avoid unnecessary medical exams. Policygenius helps you compare your options from top companies, and their team of licensed experts is on hand to help you talk through it. You can easily compare quotes from America's top insurers in just a few clicks to find your lowest price. Your work life insurance policy might not offer enough protection for your family's needs, needs. Even worse, it may not come with you if you leave your job. Policygenius gives you unbiased advice from a licensed expert support team, and they have thousands of 5-star reviews on Google and Trustpilot from customers who found the best fit for their needs. Check life insurance off your to-do list in no time with Policygenius. Head to policygenius.com/lockedonmlb or click the link in the description to get your free life insurance quotes and see how much you can save. That's policygenius.com/lockedonmlb. We're also brought to you by Monopoly Go. Yes, we've all been there, either as a player or a fan. It's halftime and the scoreboard is not looking good. You're feeling low, not sure you or your team can pull out a win. That's when you dig deep. Lift your head up and say to yourself, time to get back in the game. Pull off some bank heists and take as much money from my friends as possible. That's right. The smash hit mobile game Monopoly Go lets you compete with your friends to get the most riches and the biggest empire. It's the Monopoly you love, but on your phone anytime with tons of new twists, including leaderboards to compare your progress to your buddies. There's so much to do, like countless Monopoly boards, making your friends bankrupt by smashing their landmarks with a wrecking ball, and so much more. You can even work with your friends to crack open community chests and in tournaments to get extra awards and climb the leaderboard. So get out there, put on your game face, and download Monopoly Go, now free on the App Store or Google Play. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies talk right here on the Locked On Podcast Network, where you can find your team every day. If your team needs the Colorado Rockies, guess what? You're in the right spot. We'd love your support on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Go check us out there. Be part of the show, firing off your Rockies hot takes. Hey, and you can get all your Rockies play-by-play action throughout the season on SiriusXM and the SiriusXM app. Just search Colorado Rockies, and you will be taken to where you need to go. Hey, if you're watching Fox Sports or ESPN on your TV all day and you have to turn down the volume with all that shouting, make the switch to Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without all the screaming. Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So we looked into the numbers there in the beginning, the Rockies showing off the issues that they're having in terms of not hitting the ball, in terms of what's a problem, that over aggression that the Rockies are doing. It's clear that they're pressing to do too much. They're a team obviously looking to break a bad skid. They're a team looking to put things together. Again, haven't won back-to-back baseball games since September of last year. I know I was saying August before, but it's in fact September. And so, I mean, it shows a little bit. I mean, those when you look at that, when you look at those advanced numbers and you see that they got the higher than MLB chase percentage and things like that, I mean, it shouldn't be surprising. This is a team that continues to find themselves in situations where they're down early in the count. They're swinging at everything. They're swinging and missing at a lot of things. It just would like to see these more complete at-bats. It's really nice when the Rockies can have, a 5-6 pitch at bat where they win the battle via the walk. I literally, I think outside of the 2 home runs, my favorite thing that happened in that game yesterday were those 2 really solid walks in a situation where the Rockies were looking like their backs were completely up against the wall. There's sparks. There's little bits of moments where you look at and you say, if the Rockies can start putting it together, the good times can start rolling. But this team continues its pattern of inconsistencies. This team continues to be a team that falls behind every game. And so there again, we talked a lot about the adjustments. If these trends continue, these offensive trends continue for the Rockies throughout the season, it's going to get even tough. I mean, you can't continue to be above league average by multiple percentage points in these areas. It's just not going to work that way. It's not going to be successful that way. And then you mix it in with the fact that this team has been outscored by nearly 60 runs, and most of those runs coming in the first inning. Another bad inning for the Rockies, another bad first inning for the Rockies in this one. And it continues to be one of the other problems for them. They have to stop the big inning. They got to find a way to get out of it before the crooked number gets hung up on them. It's happened time and time again this season. 4 spot yesterday. The Rockies go down by multiple in the the second game of the series there, where the Rockies go down by 2 was it the first inning, the second inning where the Padres score? No, the Padres have scored 6 runs in the last 2 games in the first inning. And it's probably even more. Let's take a look back here at game 1 here when the Padres didn't score in the first inning of that one. So in 2 of 3 games, the Padres have scored 6 runs in the first inning. It's one thing to let up the solo shot. It's one thing that the 2-out walk got away. But man, the Rockies get so many things where they get 2 outs and then they get burned. They had 2 outs in the first inning yesterday before the runs started going in. They have to get the 3rd out. They have to just end the inning and play what they do in the rest of the ballgame. Backup time. I mean, especially, with the pitchers too. It's like, dang, Ty Block, like what adjustments did you make to go after that, to improve yourself going against that team that wasn't there at the beginning? I know Padres, super aggressive team as well. They're going to jump on pitches. They have the offensive abilities to do damage. But my point is, we've seen it so many times this year. It's not an inning with just 1 run. It's an inning with 4. It's an inning with 3. It's an inning with 2. When the crooked number happens and the hill gets steeper and steeper to climb for this struggling offense, a 4-0 lead against this Rockies team right now feels like it's 400-0. I truly, the Rockies' lack of consistent offensive production, and I mean, again, this is a homestand. This is a homestand for the Rockies in a moment where, again, they only score 2 runs. The Rockies have now scored 2 or fewer runs in 5 out of the last 6 games at home. And this is Coors Field. This is supposed to be the bread and butter. Why we talked about in the beginning of the season why it's so important for them to build a team that plays to this environment, because look, other teams are coming in. The armor of Coors Field isn't working. It's because this team isn't actually hitting the ball. This team's not even putting the ball in play. It's until this approach gets better on offense, until this team can negate the big bad inning that sinks them for the rest of the game, until this team can get ahead first and not trail in a single point, win a game by taking the lead first and holding on to that lead completely. It's nearly a month in. These type of things have to start happening for this team to be successful. These type of things have to start happening for this team to start breaking the skids. We have to keep preaching. Next time the Rockies, and here it is, another moment. The Rockies couldn't win back-to-back games. Now, don't lose 6 straight. Don't lose 6 straight. Don't lose 5 straight. Don't lose 4 straight. Win today. Win today and make it so the first time you're not suffering back-to-back losses after you lose this season. Make the adjustment. The phrase that will continue to plague this team. Make the adjustment. Show that you can make the adjustment. Because a month in, it really hasn't gotten much better. 6-19 for the Colorado Rockies, outscored by 57 runs so far this year. 57. Not to mention how much they've been outscored in the first. Not to mention that they're setting the new record for straight games trailing. I mean, folks, I think the major league record is like 34. That's 10 more games for the Rockies. And right now, is that crazy to think that it might happen? This whole month has felt like another day that ends in Y. The Rockies are playing from behind. Tough sledding there. Again, a situation in which the Rockies had some moments last night they just couldn't capitalize. So let's take a look at a couple other news notes for the Rockies here to wind down the show before it's an early game today, a little day game to end the series. So some daytime baseball for us today. We'll look at that coming up as well here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Before we do that, though, got to tell you about the folks that help make this show possible, and that includes PrizePicks. PrizePicks is the #1 fantasy sports app with more than 3 million members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to get on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more players' stats and watch the winnings roll in. It could be, hits, Brendan Rodgers hits, Elias Diaz home runs, or if you want to go into the other sports, well, they got you covered because they are the best spot for daily fantasy when it comes to the playoffs. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and enormous selection of players and stat types are what make PrizePicks the #1 fantasy sports app. PrizePicks also offers weekly promotions and special offers for the biggest moments in sports, and there's going to be a lot of them coming up here throughout the playoffs. I don't know, maybe a Jamal Murray buzzer beater, for example. You can get in on the action. You can test your fantasy sports skills with PrizePicks when you download the app today and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. That is a first deposit match up to $100 when you use the code LOCKEDONMLB on the PrizePicks app. Download the PrizePicks app today. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. This is the Locked On Rockies podcast for free and streaming on your favorite streaming services, bringing you your daily Colorado Rockies podcast right here on the Locked On Podcast Network. This happened yesterday that we did not get to talk to, and a move that I was initially like, and then I was initially like, actually, okay, I'm okay with this. Michael Toglia is sent down into the minors. Hunter Goodman called up. Hunter Goodman is in the lineup yesterday, and I mean, why was Hunter Goodman called up and Michael Toglia called down? Well, Hunter Goodman continues to tear up the minor leagues. I believe he's up to 7 home runs on this season so far, and while Michael Toglia leads the team in home runs, he wasn't hitting the ball if he wasn't hitting home runs, and the batting average and everything else was looking tough. He was looking a little outmatched in certain instances there. So going back down there and getting things right. I still like Toglia. I still think that the both sides of the box, hitting home runs from both sides of the box, always encouraging, but you got to put it all together. Just like with the Rockies with some of these other guys. I mean, they can do it. They got to do it, and they got to do it consistently. So the Rockies making a change there in right field. And this was on Purple Row. I think it's 2 days ago now, or it might have been from yesterday. But Sean Bouchard, an in-depth look at Sean Bouchard and why he deserves the right field spot, which is true. Let Sean Bouchard continue to play right field. I'm liking what I'm seeing from Sean Bouchard. Again, we know what he can do. A guy that certainly had a lot of intrigue and losing that whole last season to injury. We need that reminder of what he can do. And he can hopefully stay healthy out there and help this team. I give him a little bit more time and a little more consistency up here before we dive too much into his numbers and such as well. But I do agree with letting him be the #1 right fielder right now. Let him be the guy. And as for, Goodman, the Goodman and Toglia move, bring up the hot hand. See what Goodman can do. We know Goodman can steal some bases. We know Goodman's been able to come up and make some moments at the major league level. We'll see what that means here for the Rockies as well. And finally here, in terms of news and notes for the Rockies, Kris Bryant not coming off the IL, the back still hurting, and the back injury more significant than expected, I guess. I mean, no surgery, they're saying, but what do you same old? That's really all I'm going to say. Again, I don't want this to feel like an attack on Kris Bryant, the person. The amount of frustration he must be feeling in not being able to stay healthy has got to be immense. But for Rockies fans, the frustration in that, again, stop telling me my players are fine. I don't want to hear that Nolan Jones is just fine with a tight back if he's going to end up on the IL later on. Stop telling me everybody's just fine. That was the thing I heard on the broadcast. Because you know who else I heard was just fine? Kris Bryant. it's healthy as he's ever been. Just tell me my players are injured. Stop saying they're fine. Okay. Finally here for today, just to, like I said, the Rockies' chance to split the series here. It's the day game today. Randy Vasquez taking on Dakota Hudson here. And Dakota Hudson's looking to get things back on track as he has started out, he had the good start, but lately it has not gone as well for him. 0-4, 5.06 ERA for Hudson, a whip of 1.59, 23 hits, 12 strikeouts, 11 walks, 2 home runs. There's your big issue right there for to go to Hudson. 12 strikeouts to 11 walks. Vasquez hasn't pitched much this year. Only pitched in 5 innings so far. In that time, 5 hits, 3 Ks, 1 walk, 1 home run. So maybe an unfortunate, unfriendly Coors Field day game might be in order, hopefully, for Randy Vasquez as the Rockies look to split this first series against the Padres in the day game. Folks, that's going to do it for us here on today's episode of Locked On Rockies. Thank you so much for making us your first listen of the day. You can find us free and streaming on your favorite streaming services. You can also find us on the Locked On Rockies YouTube channel. Just search Locked On Rockies. You'll be taken where you need to go. For your second listen of the day, go check out Locked On MLB, or if you need your playoff coverage, Locked On Nuggets and Locked On Avalanche got you covered. Locked On Broncos and Locked On Buffs got you covered too for those sports as well. Folks, until next time, this is Paul Holden saying so long from the Locked On Rockies podcast.